beams like lightning. Who can win a new god or the hands of a titan? I'm the king. I'm the king. Yeah, heart and pride crash like when stars collide. Feel it all inside, I'm ready for your soul's demise. I'm the king. I'm the king. I'm the king. I'm the king. Let's get it on, I'm here, don't give me love, just fear. Since I made my premiere, got the universe at my will. My power's making you kneel, cause you ain't ready to roll. I got death's phone number and I'm making a call. I'll walk through portals, step on the borders of time and space. You're never stopping this. King of apocalypse, turn planets into slaves. Better give me respect. I bring sparks and death battles, the Omega effect. It'll cost you a life to battle me. Settle your debt. I took lives to get to the throne. I never regret. Heads roll when I step in. Give me your neck. No one can stand or bring power, bend your knees. I hold in my hand a gauntlet full of power, infinity stones. I break bones in my zone, your divinity's gone. I'm the greatest. With the snap of my fingers, I change populations. Better run from this eternal, just stop debating. I battle everybody, challenge the best, even Odin, and crush Avengers like they're rodents. Battle for the universe, let's get striking. Feel the power and the force of the mightiest fight. Energy blast hit fast, our beams like lightning. Who can win a new god or the hands of a titan? I'm the king. I'm the king. Yeah, heart and pride crash like when stars collide. Feel it all inside, I'm ready for your soul's demise. I'm the king. I'm the king. I'm the king, yeah. I'm the king, yeah. War inside, I'm full of pride. I'm about to rise, make you vanish like a planet. Just go ahead and die, yeah. War inside, I'm full of pride. I'm about to rise, make you vanish like a planet. Just go ahead and die, yeah. War inside, I'm full of pride. I'm about to rise, make you vanish like a planet. Just go ahead and die, yeah. War inside, I'm full of pride. I'm about to rise, make you vanish like a planet. Just go ahead and die. For the universe, let's get striking. Feel the power and the force of the mightiest fight. Energy blast hit fast, hot beams like lightning. Who can win a new god or the hands of a titan? I'm the king. I'm the king. Yeah, heart and pride crash like when stars collide. Feel it all inside, I'm ready for your soul's demise. I'm the king. I'm the king. I'm the king. I'm the king. let's fight. I reign supreme, the emperor. I'm galactic, swiping away your tactics, crushing you under my feet. You're a peasant, nothing to me. Turn to dust, my power and lust will hunt you to feet. Let's swing with it. I change reality when I think. To the brink of your soul, I own it all. I'm a fiend. I'm the king of the universe. Now I'm knocking you through the dirt. Put a stop to you now. It hurts. South down or it will get worse. I'm the king. Battle for the universe, let's get striking. Feel the power and the force of the mightiest fighting energy.
Hello there. Welcome to the Fan Battle Cast, where today we are talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Gandalf, a matchup I really like and I'm very excited for. This is a pitch from Speedy of Death Battle Fan. I hope we are able to represent the matchup well. I, as always, am your host, Santi Sherm, and today I am representing Gandalf. With me today, one of my homies, representing Obi-Wan Kenobi, is Saul. Say hi.
Hi guys, guy who works on Nebula Theatre here. I'm assuming everyone here has watched it. Yes, I'm going to be representing Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And our lovely jury today, we have the Kagurabachi. Say hi.
Hello, I want to play Marvel Tokon really badly.
Too bad. You got the goated Croat.
Take a guess who I'm rooting for.
We have Steven.
Hello there. Or Sonar can do mine resistance now.
Very helpful. And we have the Vamulator.
Hello! You might guess who I'm rooting for as well.
Oh my god, that's awesome. I didn't even notice the pipe. That is...
There's going to be the main cast.
Here.
I will say,
the main cast going on, and then me and Van Later are going to have our own little fight going on.
I will say, no matter who wins the cast, we know who wins the smoke off.
You guys should do like a pose, and then I'll after this cast, I'll make a thumbnail of you two fighting each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There we go.
I love how me and Kagura are in the middle, and we're talking about superhero stuff. And then there's the Star Wars.
Obi-Wan on the top and Gandalf on the bottom.
Yeah.
For the record, I don't
just
smoke.
jump right in. I think we'll have a good amount to talk about with this one.
Yeah.
Saul, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I'll go first because, sure, debates are our speciality.
One might say they are. One might say that. All right, I'll grab your 60 seconds. All right, let me know whenever you're ready.
Hello there, everyone. It's me, Saul, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Obi-Wan Kenobi, probably one of the most renowned Jedis. Friend of Anakin, mentor of Luke Skywalker, and the sexiest man this side of the galaxy. Obi-Wan is an incredibly powerful Jedi with a versatile list of hacks. He's one of the best duelists, fighting people like Maul, Grievous, Dooku, just the best of his time. He is a very incredibly powerful individual that we're looking at Legends today. Means that I've got a lot of bullshit to bring up. Gandalf is great, and he probably takes the experience in terms of being old. But in terms of actually being in direct combat, Obi-Wan has a lot more and a plethora of abilities to back him up. I think he might want to go home and rethink his life overall. I just think that Obi-Wan just has everything he needs. With the abilities, the experience, and look at that mustache and beard. Oof! Ewan McGregor.
I cannot deny the mustache and beard point. I low-key kind of want his facial hair a little bit.
You are rocking the Obi-Wan.
I'm trying to get there. It doesn't look quite as good as his yet, but maybe soon. Yeah, but Obi-Wan's pretty cool. What about Gandalf? Gandalf. Who is Gandalf? So anyone who might not know, Gandalf the White, formerly known as Gandalf the Grey, also known as true name Loren, is probably the most iconic wizard of all fiction. But who is he? He is a servant of the secret fire. He is no conjurer of cheap tricks. He is no mere mortal even. He is, in actuality, an angel under the charge of Lord of the Rings version of the capital G God. He is sent here he is essentially the word of God in the world of Lord of the Rings. He is here to lead the good people in the fight against all that is evil. He is here to help the chosen one defeat the Dark Lord by inspiring and guiding all of Middle Earth. But his true form, his true full potential as an angelic being is insane.
Oh, I don't think so.
I was not expecting to hear that Gandalf is an archangel.
Quite literally, like
But it makes sense.
He is an angel.
Well, no,
Yeah.
it makes sense because of how Christian Tolkien was.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
But he's also very well versed in a lot of folklore and mythology.
no.
He
Yeah.
actually drew a lot of comparisons between Gandalf and Hermes. Tolkien did, as kind of like he is meant to kind of partially be a messenger, partially kind of be like one who leads people. So Gandalf, just before we get into the real debate, Gandalf's very interesting because for most of the series, he's not here to like win battles. He's basically there as like a precaution because Sauron is also an angel similar to Gandalf, but he's like a fallen angel and he's trying to take over the world. And Gandalf is basically sent by the gods to be like, all right, just angel man versus human armor. That's not very fair. You're here to kind of be like a safeguard to kind of help match Sauron a little bit. So if Sauron,
He's the guide.
yeah, he's
you know?
the guide. He's here to like make sure that they win.
Very similar to how old Obi-Wan's role is in A New Hope, where he isn't really there to beat Vader, but he's there to guide Luke to becoming that Jedi Steward.
Because, and there are certain occasions if like the very human faction of good guys are faced with just like a completely unfair threat from like the old world back when, because Lord of the Rings takes place in the Third Age, and in the Second and First Age there was like much more like high fantasy, like gods and demons and all sorts of stuff fighting each other. If any ancient slumbering threat from the old ages there, Gandalf is kind of there to like take care of it and put it back in its place as well. So I have some points I want to talk about, but one thing I do want to bring up is just kind of like the initial. Obi-Wan is obviously an incredibly skilled duelist. I do kind of want to touch on dynamically. Well, Gandalf's not too far behind. I want to bring up like just because a lot of people kind of have this idea that Gandalf is just kind of like old frail man with like magic spells, but he does have like he is an angel. Like this isn't like a crazy feat, but this is just a good way to like show off how strong he is. He does just like break this big ass rock one time. That's like a good showing of like he is like extremely superhumanly strong. When he was fighting the Balrog, one of his most common feats, it like broke a mountain apart. And I prepared a little video to show off just like the skill. Gandalf has a staff, but he also has a sword. He wields a staff and a sword in martial combat, and he's extremely good at it because he has been around for 2,000 years. He's actually 50,000 years old, but he's been on Ea for 2,000 of those years. Ea being the physical mortal plane. And he's like the guy. To make a long story short, Gandalf was sent to Earth with like a bunch of other angel wizards, and Gandalf out of all of them was like the most worldly. Like he really was the one who went on travels and experienced the world and like fought and like learned things. Gandalf of all the wizards is like more martially skilled than someone like Saruman, for example, who's much more like Saruman's like the big head wizard, but he's more like what's the word? He's like more studious and magic focused. I prepared a little thing showing off how skilled Saruman is for just an example of what a fight would look like.
He's whooping their ass.
This is like the martial capabilities. These are both super
Let's get down with it.
So that's Saruman, and Gandalf is more skilled than Saruman in terms of martial combat. He has his staff, he has his sword, he's whooping. He's in so many army fights where he's just like whooping ass. He's like knocking heads with his big staff. One time he's fighting like this big troll, and he's basically fighting like a Dark Souls boss where he's like sidestepping these massive swings. Like, if there's one thing I want to clear up, is that Gandalf does have very good martial prowess. But I guess if we want to talk about fighting skills, I think Obi-Wan might have something to say in terms of how skilled he is in the pocket.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Obi-Wan is a master of Form 3, which is Sorasu, which is known as the Resilience form. It has an emphasis on defense, especially against something like Blaster Fire, but later evolved to deal with lightsaber combat. He was stated by Mace Windu, who, you know, is a very good fighter, to be the master of the fighting style, with Vader himself even considering Obi-Wan to be the greatest Jedi, and multiple guidebooks and sources consider him one of the most formidable duelists, which kind of shows considering he was able to match, you know, the Chosen One in a duel using his lightsabers, and he's able to match people like Count Dooku, who is a way more kind of experienced in terms of age and was capable of fighting against like people blinded. He's fought against, again, people like General Grievous, who've been able to take down multiple Jedi at once, and Maul, who have just... Oh, I did actually have a scan for this one. Yes, he is an expert swordsman. That's how he's referred to in the guidebooks. Yeah, he's just been able to match like a ton of different people in lightsaber combat. Tons of just multiple individuals at once. Obviously, not all of them have lightsabers. He's been able to cut down multiple droids and droidicas and battle droids. But in terms of actual lightsaber on-sword combat, I think Obi-Wan is far more skilled. And also, can the sword tank a weapon that I think is stated to be as hot as a planet surface? Or planet core? It's one of them. I think core.
I guess we could talk about this a little bit. Like, first off, I think we can just have the general, like... I feel like how high in AP do you have to be to just, like, not really worry about the heat? Because, to talk about Glamdring real quick, which is Gandalf's sword... It is like an elven-made sword that was not only used a lot in the Third Age, but was used back in, like, the First Age when, like, gods and demons were fighting across the world. So, like, we can kind of talk about AP scaling in a little bit, but, like, Gandalf's sword would get all, like, the island level, country level, higher level stuff we can talk about. But also, like, even if we don't want to talk about just, like, pure, it should just be tough enough to be able to defend from lightsaber blows regardless. He does use it to, like, summon lightning, and then he will catch lightning in the sword. And lightning is incredibly hot. It's like, I think I wrote it down somewhere in my notes. I don't think I kept it, but it's like 30,000 degrees or something. Like, lightning is very hot. And I think, like, maybe if, like, Obi-Wan stood there with the lightsaber for, like, a long, prolonged time, he could maybe eventually cut through it. I don't know if he could. I think, like, the AP and durability scaling of the sword would be fine regardless. But even if you want to make that argument, I think it's more than fine to assume that, like, Glamdring can block multiple hits if it's just, like, a normal fight conflict where they're bouncing off each other more often than not.
Maybe. Again, I just don't... like. Maybe that, in my opinion, the heat just doesn't really compare to where I think the lightsaber can just cut through the sword and probably the staff like butter.
Well, like, the staff is blocked by, like, magic would be the thing. So, like, that's...
yeah, I guess. But I mean, in terms of, like, if the lightsaber made contact with those, which is going to be a pretty bad thing for Gandalf to lose his main sword against, you know, this guy who's fought against multiple people with swords.
How hot is the core of a planet?
The core of the planet is 6,000 Celsius. 10,000 or 10,000 Fahrenheit.
All right, if you're telling the truth, then we're just straight chilling because lightning is 30,000 degrees Celsius. So if the sword can tank lightning levels of heat, then it should be able to take planet core levels of heat.
Okay. That's fine for now.
Right. So I think, like, at the very least, their swords can clash. I think that if we were to argue, like, if we were to just grade them on a letter score, Obi-Wan would be the more skilled combatant. I'm cool with that. But I do think Gandalf's not too far behind. To just kind of talk about the general skill level of Lord of the Rings, what we're dealing with. We have, like, human swordsmen, like regular human swordsmen, trained for a while. And then we have orcs and Uruk-hai. These orcs and Uruk-hai are stronger and faster than humans by a significant margin. And they've also trained for their entire lives in martial physical combat. They are a warlike culture. So we have these orcs and Uruk-hai that are supernaturally strong and have trained for their whole... orcs have trained for their whole lives. Uruk-hai are kind of like genetically created as like adults, so it's like a little weird. But at the very least, orcs have been training for their whole life and are superhumanly strong and fast. And then we have rangers in Lord of the Rings who are physically weaker than orcs on average, but have to train to be so skilled enough that they can defeat these people who are not only stronger than them, but have also been training for their whole lives. So we have the rangers who have like this supernatural level of skill and verse. And then on top of that, we have Gandalf, who's been traveling the world for 2,000 years, who would scale above most rangers in terms of physical combat because he has been like experiencing the world and kind of just living with the men for these 2,000 years. So just like a small scaling chain, we have normal humans, orcs, rangers, and then Gandalf. So it's like Gandalf does have some level of pretty good skill on his side. But also kind of want to touch on like stylistically how they match up because I think that's kind of interesting because Obi-Wan has a very defensive style. And the big weakness of Obi-Wan's fighting style that Dooku was able to take advantage of is that he is extremely defensive. He is like the ultimate, when you're fighting me, you cannot breach my lightsaber defenses. That's the Ataru he has. So it's like, when fighting someone against Grievous, who's like super aggressive, Obi-Wan's like the perfect guy. But Dooku was able to kind of play with that by like fencing him and also mixing in force techniques, which would like, he's great at defending against martial attacks, but he is not as good at defending against force attacks simultaneously.
I mean, I would argue maybe because like at least the big loss with Obi-Wan versus Dooku was in episode 2, which is when he's kind of first meeting Dooku for the first time. In Clone Wars and Legends continuity, he's shown to be very even with Dooku in those fights. And even then, him being able to match like prime dark side Anakin, who really should just outclass him in both like not really skill but power in the force, you know. And he does try and throw force techniques in there, like when he tries to do like a force push and Obi-Wan counters with his own force push and they kind of get locked in this standstill. So I don't think Gandalf has an inherent advantage with that. And then also again against Maul, who is known to use very vicious force techniques during his fighting.
I think you've kind of already refuted my point, but I guess what I was gonna say is like Gandalf he's a very good spell swordsman, so like he is very good at mixing in the spells along with the swordplay. And then the Anakin point is fair. Anakin does use a lot of force techniques in conjunction with that.
Which is what he was trying to do.
To be fair, Anakin is someone he's been fighting with for like almost a decade at that point, so it would be like Obi-Wan would be very familiar with how Anakin would fight, whereas Gandalf would be like not as familiar to Obi-Wan.
If you don't mind, I would like to ask a question.
So,
Hit it.
Yeah. So, out of the two, who would you say is more likely to go on the offensive?
Gandalf?
interesting.
Probably. I mean,
Neither
Obi-Wan.
are particularly aggressive.
Yeah, Obi-Wan isn't afraid to go on the offensive. We have to remember that he was one of the leading commanders behind the Clone Wars. He knew when to push in and fight when he had to. His overall lightsaber fighting style was that of a defensive individual, but he's not afraid to charge in against people when the situation calls for it.
I would say if we had to pick one of them,
Yeah,
maybe
it's weird.
Gandalf, but it's like I don't really think either one of them are gonna be rushing into anything. I think they're both
Yeah, they're both going to be very careful.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to highlight how much of a with the military tactics and strategies, how Obi-Wan kind of led himself and his clone army through multiple incredibly large battles.
I guess that is fair. I would, at this point, just talk about like the general experience because, like I said, Gandalf has been on.
He's old.
Gandalf's an old bastard. He's been around for 2,000 years on Earth, but also he's just 50,000 in general. But also, he kind of comes from before time, before we even started counting, so he should technically be even older, depending on how we interpret how that works.
So,
but like in terms of like also intelligence, like he is like one of the wise. Like he is like the thing that Gandalf was known for was he was able to figure out Sauron's plan more or less and take the actions necessary to stop it. Like he's great at like predicting the future, predicting events, figuring out what's gonna happen. Like he deduces what's gonna happen and then takes the actions to prevent that from happening. Like it's gotten to the point where like Saruman was like mad at him because he was too smart. He's like seeing through all like the deceit and the trickery going on around him. Like I feel like we gotta keep in mind like 2,000 years for like a supernatural. Like it's not like he's like going senile or anything. He's like he is a supernatural being who is like still fresh and also has all that experience. Like
I like the idea of senile Gandalf.
Yeah.
after 100,000 years, it's like he's had enough.
I mean, he's so grumpy on a regular basis, so senile would be the worst.
You're actually so correct. We should probably get into what these guys can do because you're talking a lot about like magic and stuff, but what magic can Gandalf actually do? Especially since with the movies and stuff, he doesn't do a lot, but I'm assuming you've got a lot more in your pocket.
Yeah, so Gandalf is an angel, and I'm not gonna go too much into the backstory, but in a little bit of the backstory, the angels basically sung the world into creation. Why this is relevant is because Gandalf, as one of these angels, at potentially full potential, can borderline warp reality. I'm not gonna say he can do like literally whatever he wants. What I'm trying to say is his magic is less I'm going to cast this specific spell to do a specific thing and more I'm going to will this effect to happen because that's what I want to happen right now.
Yes, but wasn't the singing thing took multiple individuals like him to do something like that on that scale? And wasn't it also because of the formation of the age they were in?
Like 100%. I'm not trying to say like he can create anything that exists in the universe. I'm just trying to say like based on how his magic works, it's incredibly flexible within the type of magic we see him doing.
Sure.
So like some of them, just to kind of talk about like some of the more common stuff he does. He is known for like his pyrotechnics. He is like one of his it's like his brand to be kind of have like fire abilities. We can see in like various video games and in other effects that he has a lot of fire spells. He has lightning spells. One of the most iconic thing is when he summons lightning to strike down the Balrog. He has a lot of fog spells. He can create like massive fog around him. He has light. He can blind people. Flashbang. Flashbangs are hurt, guys. Don't get flashbanged. I have some art here that's pretty impressive. So Gandalf, storyline Gandalf. He started as Gandalf the Grey, probably more iconic. He, spoiler alert for a really old book, he died at the end of the first book, and then came back to life as Gandalf the White. And at this point, Gandalf the White is the smartest and strongest of any wizard, which would mean he could do basically anything Saruman could do. And Saruman also has a lot of spells, a lot of storm creation. I have like some official art to show off some of the things that Gandalf and Saruman can do. Like we see in art that they can like summon these giant meteors. So he can like summon like a meteor storm.
I
have a
was
question.
not ready for Magic the Gathering scaling.
He
Yeah,
has the Walmart version of the Crimson Bands of Sidorak. He can like summon like these magical ropes on people. So he's got like some good flexibility in terms of
I
like,
do
the
have a
standard.
question.
What's up?
Yeah. Can Gandalf does Gandalf have any way of manipulating space? Or like any spatial related abilities?
I don't really. Okay, so kind of, but not in the way you're thinking. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
This will go more into like his immortality more than anything else, which is why like I don't think that's what you're asking about. I don't think he has any way to like wave his hand and like make the space between each other disappear or anything.
Okay.
Maybe I just don't understand your question though.
I was just asking because, like, it's not super uncommon to like have a space-related ability inside these fantasy stories. Surprisingly, I know.
I will. I just want to say about I guess a counter to the fire and I guess the lightning is the force technique to minus.
I do want to say one last spell really quick.
Go on.
Another big thing is just general telekinesis. They use telekinesis a lot to like throw each other around. All right, keep going. What were you saying?
So I wanted to bring up a little counters to some of these, and actually I'm glad that you brought this up. So telekinesis is actually something that Obi-Wan should resist, because even before they pick up a lightsaber, Jedi Padawan are taught to resist against telekinesis. It's something they learn before they even have their lightsaber. Which, like, that's cool, I guess. The weird thing to teach. But for the fire and lightning, we have Tutor Minus. So Tutor Minus is a technique where it's an energy absorption one, right?
Yeah.
Where basically it can absorb multiple things, and more specifically for this, Obi-Wan did it on Dirge, who is this bounty hunter, right? This really fucking cool guy. I wish they bring him back. His flamethrower.
Please, he's so cool.
He's awesome. He used it on his flamethrower, and he's done it on blaster bolts, which should, similar heat and stuff. And we've seen multiple Jedi do it on Force Lightning. So I don't think any of the abilities you mentioned are going to affect Obi-Wan. Yes, Croat.
This is a question that was brought up in chat. How exactly would magic and Force interact with each other?
They're just kind of set power systems both can use. Like,
yeah.
I
think burst equalization covers that, right?
Yeah.
I will say burst equalization does cover it, but also I think magic in Lord of the Rings is a lot more similar to the Force than even most other like Fairy Tale or Skyrim. It's like a magical energy that you use to like create energy from your body. Wizards are not like there are spells, but the point is, like, they manipulate the world around them in a way similar to how a Jedi would manipulate the Force. So
it's supernatural energy, basically, at the end of the day, right?
Honestly, not really.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, kind of. Like, the thing is, like, fundamentally, a Jedi manipulating a Force and a wizard kind of using their power to manipulate reality are fundamentally very similar, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is there any
means, unfortunately, that Obi-Wan probably would be able to use
However, I do have a question.
So do
Yeah?
Is there a limit to how much Obi-Wan could absorb?
Unsure. Tutor Minus is a very weird thing that hasn't been used a lot, But it's been powerful enough to where, people have been able to, like, deflect things. So it isn't even just an absorption thing. It can also work as a deflection thing. In probably one of the coolest things ever, Shakti, during one of her fights with Grievous in the extended canon, deflects his fucking lightsaber by Tutor Minus in it because it's made of pure, because lightsabers are made of pure energy. So it's not even just absorbing it, which you can do. You can also reflect it. Yoda did that against Dooku. He caught the Force Lightning with Tutor Minus and launched it right back at him. I'm just using absorption as like a general example.
Okay.
I think something interesting to consider is that I forgot what I was gonna say.
Fam, did you have a question as well?
Yes, you said Obi-Wan could resist telekinesis. But there must be a limit to that because we've seen Obi-Wan be pushed around, Dooku force chokes him, so like he can't resist infinite telekinesis.
Yeah, I'm assuming that it isn't like infinite, but it's something that they have knowledge, like they have knowing and are able to resist, like very maybe like super basic telekinesis, and like Obi-Wan himself has telekinesis as well. So it isn't like a super unexpected ability, you know?
Yeah, he would be ready for it, essentially.
Steven.
Yes, I have a question. Can Gandalf resist the mind tricks of Obi-Wan?
He does. Not only is he like an eldritch abomination entity mentally, like he comes from
What?
before time. Like if anything, he is not weak of minded, but also he has a very specific counter, which is
I
like
love how your argument starts off with he's an eldritch being.
He's locked in.
Gandalf, the Lovecraftian horror.
so Tolkien has a very what's Catholic idea of like your mind is immutable unless you give into temptation.
Yeah.
So there's like this concept in Lord of the Rings where it's like some universal rule. It's like the rule of the mind, or there's a specific term. I'm fresh, I can't remember it. But basically, like Gandalf's mind cannot be manipulated by external forces. Basically.
Do I talk about it now? No, we'll save it for a minute.
I
have something.
Are you on your Smeagol arc? Who are you talking to?
It's the big one. I kind of want to talk.
Save the big one.
Kind of want to talk about a bit more what Obi-Wan can actually do, because I feel like we haven't really talked about what he can do with the Force.
What's he got?
So, Force techniques, there's a lot. Getting rid of the mind stuff, he's able to Force push, Force pull. He's able to increase his physical abilities and perform, like, there's like Force speed or like Force leaps. But Force strength is a very specific example of where he was able to rip open the armor of General Grievous. Armor that took a planet's surface collapsing on top of it. Also, we talked a little bit, I don't know how I forgot to mention this, we talked about weapon durability earlier. A lightsaber was able to tank a planet exploding.
What?
I think it's one of the novels. I think it's, I forget which one it is, but there is an explosion that, like, engulfs a planet, and, like, the lightsaber is fine in, like, the debris.
So it's that tough.
I don't want to call outlier, but don't we have examples of lightsabers just being like cut by machine parts?
This is Legends, so like Legends is temporary bullshit with what it's able to pull out.
I guess the question I would ask is, do we know that is the lightsaber's natural durability, or is that some like using the Force around their whole body they're able to?
No, because like the person would have also survived. I feel like if you've got the choice between you and your lightsaber, you're going to protect yourself.
Okay.
As for other abilities, Obi-Wan can extend his reach to the environment and gain like cosmic awareness because the living Force, the Force is all around, blah, 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 blah. Able to amplify his physical senses to a degree where he can perceive what his eyes cannot. There was one time, I think I sent this to you, Sherm, where he was fighting entirely blindfolded. And he's just mogging these guys entirely. It's to the point where individuals are... he can feel the presence of nearby life forms, distinguish enemies from allies by their life signatures, and his senses are so strong they can warn him of imminent danger. And this is so extensive, he was able to sense an individual from light years away.
Light years?
Light
Yeah.
years?
And he was able to detect objects in real space while being in hyperspace.
Quick question.
That's a powerful sense.
Quick question.
Yeah.
This was brought up in chat. I'm assuming this is just every version of Kenobi, not just prequel and...
Saul can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's indication that, like, old Ben is actually, like, the strongest version of Kenobi ever.
It's weird.
Like, I think there's, like, some indication that Darth Vader like Old Ben and Darth Vader could have had an extremely close fight, and Old Ben kind of just let him.
He threw it. Yeah, he threw it.
No, 100% he threw it.
He kicked the bucket.
Why did he throw?
Just because like it wasn't his job.
He gave up, bro.
To beat Vader.
As for as to go into more detail about the precognition, because I think this is important. Jedi's can perceive events in the future before they can occur, and experience premonitions of events that would occur decades later. The range of the precognition can extend to even allowing one to foresee every major and minor event in a large-scale battle, and aiding in hyperspace navigation if needed. So, unless Gandalf has a way to stop the precognition of a Jedi, Obi-Wan's going to stay one step ahead of him at every turn.
All right, that's a good segue. Does Gandalf have an answer to the future sight of a Jedi?
Let's talk about how Gandalf is an angel in Lord of the Rings, known as a Maiar. Let's talk about how Maiar perceive time. So basically, they can fully perceive the future and the past as a Maiar. So they have a similar situation going on with they're just, as an angel, being able to understand the plan around them. They can shift their mind wherever they want it to be, basically.
You've activated my trap card, Sherm.
Uh-oh.
Jedi and Sith are trained to obfuscate. Sorry for how to pronounce that word for a minute. Their opponent's perception of the future. It's a common technique because obviously, why the fuck aren't the Jedi and Sith just in a battle of prediction, right? It's a technique that that Jedi and Sith commonly use. Most battles are used with it. So there's an argument that I'm making right now that Obi-Wan could potentially shut down that precognition and let his own run rampant. And the Force is vibrant enough to show someone infinite possibilities. Legends is awful.
That is pretty interesting.
Fucking Legends.
So he could cut that off for Gandalf and leave Gandalf without any precognition.
Could he though? Didn't it say that he could travel to the future?
All right. This is some real Silmarillion shit we're getting into right now. All right, so let's just talk about, we'll save that for later because Gandalf has an interesting physiology, which is going to lead to a whole nother sect of arguments. I kind of want to just finish up the arsenal bit first.
More abilities, I guess. There's another one that I wanted to talk about is that Obi-Wan has the ability to manipulate matter itself and move it through space with such precision that he's able to control molecules, transmute elements, and even make subatomic alterations to objects.
Fucking tunnel effect. What is this shit?
And as you might remember from Obi-Wan versus Kakashi, with telekinesis, which kind of goes hand in hand with their matter manipulation, they're able to target internal organs like the heart, the brain, and the Force can tear targets apart from where they stand, crush them to death even when they're wearing armor, or buckle the hulls of starships, and disarm people's weapons, which Obi-Wan quite likes doing. So even with that sword could just be whoop disarmed, and that staff.
Okay, I guess Gandalf can do a similar thing. One of his Gandalf really likes breaking people's swords before they even get a chance to use them. One time when he was fighting Aragorn, he just made his sword become super heated and forced him to drop it, which he could do with the metal hilt of the lightsaber. Another point, he tells Sauron, your staff is broken, and it just blows up in his hands. He could just blow up the lightsaber at any point. He could also, with an ability that I think will be particularly useful here, Gandalf does have transmutation. He is allegedly able to turn people into frogs. He can turn food into wood. He could just turn the lightsaber into wood, and even if I don't think Obi-Wan, even if he can somehow resist the lightsaber being physically destroyed, I don't think he can do anything if his lightsaber just becomes a wooden model of a lightsaber.
Now, you won't believe what I'm about to say.
What are you about to say?
What happens in Legends?
So again, with Force scaling and stuff, there's other characters that I'll bring up, but Obi-Wan is literally one of the peak, right? Characters weaker than Obi-Wan was able to resist the effects of a Sith artifact, which forcefully changed every humanoid in the area into rag ghouls.
What?
Yeah, rag ghouls.
Yeah, I should know what this is.
Which
I was
one
like,
is
rag ghouls are these like horrible-looking creatures. They are Sith-spawned mutants.
I recognize the name, but not the.
I think
Oh,
I know what
these
you're
things.
talking about. At the very least, that sounds familiar.
I don't know what these things are.
Oh, wait, I actually think I found the feat. The Ragul virus is that arc, by the way.
I would say like this is technically resistance to like his own body being transformed as opposed to like his weapon being transformed.
Yeah, I'm fine with the argument that the weapon is able to be transmutated. I just didn't want you to be like, he can turn Obi-Wan into a frog.
like
Battle
Final
over.
Fantasy frog neg.
Yeah.
I think that's more fair. I will say like there is like I don't know if like we can correlate magic transmutation to mutation, but I think it's fair enough for our purposes today.
It still is like a form of transmutation.
Perhaps. Yeah. All right. Okay.
A mutation, like it's a mutation.
No frog B1 can.
Another, I want to bring up an interesting power that here is that Obi-Wan has a technique called Force Stun, which overloads an enemy senses and freezes them in place. And then in one of the most bullshit examples ever, it was used on a droid and worked and made the droid drop its shields. You know, a purely metal creature that shouldn't have any perception to manipulate.
So I think that you've brought up a lot of kind of instant win cons at this point. A lot of stuff about targeting Gandalf's biology, kind of like making him unable to do anything. But here's a big part of my argument, which is that Gandalf does not care. What's the devil core from Snapcube? Physical damage to my body does not affect me in any way. Because Gandalf's body is not his real body. He is an angel sent from Lord of the Rings equivalent to heaven. And he just created that body to exist in the world. There's a quote where it's like, the Maiar and Valar treat bodies like one would treat a pair of clothes. He can just kind of make a new body whenever he wants. If you remember,
I have a big issue with this. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'll just finish my
argument. You go on, yeah.
Tell me why I'm wrong. So, if you remember from Sauron versus Lich King, one of the arguments was Lich King's body-destroying virus doesn't matter because Sauron would just create a new body or fight as a ghost. Gandalf can do the exact same thing. He can just, like, have his body destroyed. He'll just, like, make a new body. He can also kind of change his body into whatever he wants it to be. Angel and Valar are, like, shapeshifters. That's not really Gandalf's strategy, but, like, theoretically, like, even if his body isn't destroyed, he could just, like, change it back to whatever it was before. Like, he can... And also, this leads into one of the arguments, which is, how do you kill him? I don't think you can.
Is this,
that is an insane immortality, I will admit.
So,
is this why he came back? This is how he's able to come back after dying?
So, three things here. One of the biggest thing is that, yes, that's an important thing. But, can you tell me how long it took Gandalf to come back after being killed by the Balrog? Multiple days.
I will say because that's what was supposed to happen.
It's a weird thing, but it did take multiple days for him to be able to regenerate from that. Also, there's two other things that I want to bring up. One is that Obi-Wan has non-physical interaction, which through the Force is able to affect non-physical beings. Three, because again, legends and all that, Obi-Wan, when he dies, becomes a ghost. He has actually fought people as a ghost before, most notably against Starkiller. Did Starkiller whoop his ass? Yeah, but that's Starkiller for you. Starkiller kind of whoops everyone's ass. But, like, he was in a duel with Starkiller while as a ghost. So he's not the only one who can come back from death.
And we do know Force Ghosts can still, like, summon lightning, so they can still use the Force.
They can still use their Force techniques. And I'm going to bring up the big one. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Can I interject?
Should I counter those first 2 points, or do you want to...
Yeah, go on. No, you go on.
Regarding the respawn time, to go into more detail about Gandalf's first death, what happened was Gandalf was already so Maiar and Valar technically do not have infinite energy. They have incredibly crazy energy reserves, but not infinite. Gandalf came to Earth fully charged 2,000 years ago, and then after a 10-day long duel with a physical equal, he finally expended all of his energy and died and could not regenerate his body on his own. At this point, he went to Lord of the Rings equivalent of heaven, which for these purposes is actually outside of time conventionally. Gandalf did not just like spend 2 days in heaven and then come back. Gandalf spent what was the equivalent of like thousands of years, I believe, in heaven and then came back. He existed outside of time. If it was meant to be, if he wanted to come, so he literally could have come back the instant he died. But also, what's important for this thing is he ran out of energy, which is why he couldn't recreate his body. As Gandalf the White, he was re-topped off to the same to superior energy reserves than what he had the first time he came back. So he's essentially in this fight. He's dealing with like, I don't think one of the arguments would like Obi-Wan just kills him enough times that he doesn't have the energy to recreate his body. Gandalf's has a 2,000-year life battery right now, so I don't think Obi-Wan's just winning the war of attrition in this fight. In regards to the ability for Obi-Wan to manipulate him physically or manipulate his spirit, I actually don't really know what fully your argument is, because I think it's actually your third big point, maybe.
It's just that it's just that the force of, like, the force itself is able to affect non-physical beings.
I will say, like, maybe he can, like, telekinesis his spirit, but because of Tolkien's, like, the spirit is immortal philosophy, all souls have the flame imperishable, which is a concept that basically makes their soul indestructible up to, I believe, a 10th dimensional being. There's a lot of context. Long story short, Lord of the Rings souls have incredibly good soul resistance, soul manipulation resistance.
Could Gandalf regenerate his soul?
I don't think we have any evidence that he can recreate his soul, but I would just argue that his soul has such good... I think, like, you could argue his soul has 10D durability. Like, his soul has, like, crazy durability in terms of soul manipulation.
What the fuck happens with Lord of the Rings?
Okay, so
ask a question here regarding the whole regarding the whole Maya thing. Because Gandalf is a very specific type of Maya. He's an Istari. And an Istari is a Maya bound into the body of a mortal man. That's why when he died. So I was wondering how we handle the Maya aspect there.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have that resistance. The reason he died the first time was because he ran out of any energy he would have had. Now with the more energy, he could come back himself. He doesn't have limitations.
So a couple of things I want to bring up before I get into the big one is that Obi-Wan can very likely stay in this battle for realistically as long as he needs to. Something that multiple Jedi, and I think even Obi-Wan himself has been shown to do. Let me grab it. Is a thing called Battle Mind, which amplifies his own morale and concentration in the Force. Force healing allows him to repair injuries, cure ailments, nullify poisons, expel mind-altering drugs, and even nullify one's own perception of pain. But now I got to talk about the Force. So, for those who don't know, the Force itself is an infinite, higher dimensional, transcending space and time, extending through hyperspace and other space. And it's just a very crazy thing that is like a battery, like a fuel thing, and it's like infinite, you know? So, in one of the most bullshit things ever is a weakened Obi-Wan, so this was one who was injured, was attacked by a dark nexus. And this dark nexus was described, hang on, I don't want to misquote it here, as having, they attacked Obi-Wan's mind with the equivalent of the army of the Sith.
How many is that?
At least 2. But the dark nexus was overpowered by Obi-Wan's mind manipulation and his telekinesis, right? I mean, not telekinesis, but his overall mind hacks. The Force Nexus was able to extend its reach into hyperspace, turning it into unreality. Hyperspace, for those who don't know, is a fifth-dimensional plane of existence, which means that Obi-Wan has layered mind hacks, which Gandalf's normal resistance, unless you can show that he has resistance to higher dimensional mind hacks, Obi-Wan should be able to use his mind abilities.
Well, I would argue that Gandalf's mind is inherently higher dimensional because he is from before dimensions were even created in Lord of the Rings.
I think that's creating some assumptions at this point about the dimensionality and the hierarchy. And again, like the mortal man thing.
Well, I guess if you guys don't mind, could we talk about who's more stronger? Because that is a point.
I feel like is that where you're going, Saul? I feel like you were going somewhere else with this.
No, I was going somewhere else for a minute. I'm just saying, like, with the mind manipulation point, unless you have definitive evidence of him being able to block higher dimensional, at least fifth dimensional, there's arguments for this getting higher, mind attacks, then Obi-Wan should be able to use his mind manipulation techniques, which are a lot.
I feel like I got a little lost in the sauce. What does a fifth dimensional mind attack mean?
It's just he's able to affect people. Like, he's able to attack something with his mind abilities on that scale.
Because he can manipulate hyper time?
Because he was able to overpower the Force Nexus, which, again, reached into the 5D plane of hyperspace.
Is that actually like a mind hack or more just a fifth dimensional mind resistance?
Yeah.
No, he used his power to he overpowered the Nexus.
Like, I feel like maybe I'm just missing something, but was he like, so he's overpowering the Nexus like in a mental battle is what he was doing? Like, it was like, I'm using my mind manipulation to stop.
He's using his force powers.
Okay. This probably all makes sense. I think I'm just missing some context, but there's probably some 5D mind manipulation. I'll believe you. I'm struggling personally, but it's probably legit.
This is something that they brought up in the Luke versus Saber blog.
Okay.
Is this Force Nexus that, like, Force Nexuses are like creations by Siths, and this particular one was able to reach into hyperspace and like basically corrupt and destroy it, which is a higher dimensional plane of existence. And Obi-Wan's Force powers and techniques, and like his specifically, again, because like mind manipulation and stuff, put him above that, you know?
Yeah. I think if we want to talk about Obi-Wan, I don't know how long you want to go into the mind manipulation arguments, but to just kind of give like more context to what I'm talking about, Gandalf was part of the song creation from before creation, and that created things like the dimensions of space and time. This was before the afterlife existed. These are basically, this isn't going to be reality over fiction, but this is basically like, they're described as basically like the authors that created the world before the world existed. The level of like, they exist beyond dimensions, I think just like the fact that his mind exists in that state would be like, that's the kind of like, he has mentality on that level in my
But isn't his like true power and true form locked out of the world?
That he's, in terms of like his ability to like exist as a infinite dimensional being, yes, but what I'm saying is like his mind itself, it's like, maybe you could argue like when he has a body he could affect the body's brain, but like I don't think he'd be able to manipulate it once he turns into like a spirit. Then like he's back at that like, I can comprehend all of everything again.
And like with the, also I want to say is that the energy thing, like the 10-day period thing, he only like physically died after the 10 days. Even if you want to argue the okay, maybe it wouldn't affect the his actual mind, which I'm a bit doubtful on personally. Like he would still be constantly being able to destroy Gandalf's bodies and making him run through those reserves like like that, like a snap. You know?
Well, yeah, like I said, he got like topped off on the same energy he had before, and then some. So like multiply that 10 days of fighting by like however many years he's lived. Like I think like even like the most like stringent interpretation, he would be able to like constantly go through bodies like many times over, very similarly to how they fought back in like the first and second age, where like they would get destroyed and then just like recreate their body and have another fight. Like I think you'd have to argue like he'd have to kill him like at worst hundreds of times, at best a lot more than that.
Which I think he can do through the mind, through his force mind powers.
I would like to potentially. I'm not cutting you off, am I? Because I have some things I want.
No, you go on.
Okay. I think that there's some interesting things to go over with this. Because we'll talk about Gandalf's stamina. We can also talk about Obi-Wan's stamina. Because he has his human stamina. Like, even if, like, he can use the Force to keep himself going, eventually, like, I think he's eventually just going to starve to death at some point. Like, he can use the Force to keep going, but his human body does have a limit, even if he can turn off all his pain and whatever else he needs to do to keep fighting at peak potential. And once he turns into a ghost, at that point, Gandalf has a very interesting ability, because Maiar are able to bring souls to the Hall of Mandos, which is the version of the afterlife. I think you could argue Gandalf could just be like, you're a wayward spirit. Here's where the afterlife is, and just bring him there.
Not really, because more Force stuff is that the Force spirit of a Jedi itself was stated to be able to like it can't be destroyed through normal means and stuff, and like even though unlike other spirits which can be erased with like the dark side of the Force and its energy.
I understand that it's immune to most things, but I feel like bringing a spirit to the afterlife, and I will say very specifically, Valar have used this to like trap spirits before. They've been like, you're in the afterlife and you can't come back. Normally you have dimensional travel, but you can't come back from the afterlife once we put you there.
Is this something Gandalf has used though?
Gandalf has not specifically done this, no.
Because I feel like Gandalf is getting a lot of credit for a lot of shit he just wouldn't pull out.
I mean, how often has Obi-Wan fought as a Force ghost?
I at least have an example of it.
Why?
Yeah, he got its ass kicked.
Yeah, but that's also in the power fantasy game. You can't blame Obi-Wan for that one.
This isn't like
he fought once and died again.
This isn't like some specific ability like, oh, I am the Charon of the Maiar and Valar, and only I can bring people after. It's just like a thing that like they do. So I don't think it's like some crazy reach to say Gandalf should be able to do something.
I actually have something.
What you got?
One of the like Sith who should be lower than Obi-Wan was able to resist the Valley of Jedi attempting to pull his spirit into the Force Nexus, which is the thing that I talked about. Not the Force Nexus, but the Nexus, which is like it's so weird to talk about with cosmology, because the Nexus and the Force Nexus very much are similar things, but also different, you know? But he was specifically able to resist having his spirit. And again, this is like, I know I made the example of like, oh, something that Obi-Wan has done. Force defense stuff is really weird. And especially with his precognition, he would know like a ton about, he would know how the entire battle's going to play out before it's even started.
I will say, is this like a like the soul's being pulled out of his body? Because that might be a little bit different than just like your soul is already free of its body, and then it just gets like.
From my knowledge, it's trying to pull the spirit itself into the Nexus.
Okay. Interesting. I'm not sure how these abilities would interact, but that is. I will say, like, the Maiar and the Valar do also just exist as spirits consistently, and they can still be, like, told and forced to go places, but I'm not.
I also want to talk about, like, some of the other mind stuff now that that's a valid ability to use.
Okay.
So, like, affecting mind can be used to control and dominate the will of others, obliterate memories and replace them with false ones, override their senses, which I've already talked about, and
I
generate
forgot, Gandalf can also manipulate memories. I'll just throw that in there.
As for the memory manipulation, memory erasing device blatantly didn't work on him.
Phooey.
So, like, where was I? Sorry, I got completely.
You're talking about
the mind stuff. Yeah. There's Skir Khan, who is again he's a very low level Jedi. Used the Force to dominate the mind of 20,000 Sith.
I like how you say low level and then just say insane shit.
I mean, like, Obi-Wan is the peak of the peak. I also want to say that he's able to create force barriers and was able to maintain an entire barrier for an hour straight. And Obi-Wan was like, I don't even think that Yoda could do that. Fuck you, Obi-Wan. No, Yoda could do that in his sleep. Oh yeah, and Obi-Wan can also just, like Jedis have been able to cause instant death, which would fuck the whole 10-day regeneration thing up.
Wait, what would fuck the 10-day regeneration up?
Instantly killing Gandalf.
Wait, how?
Just through like death manipulation.
He can manipulate death.
Like that would maybe kill his body.
Just causing. Yeah, that's what I mean. He would have to expend the energy to remake his body.
Okay. I will say, Gandalf doesn't have to recreate his body. He can just exist as a spirit and also do stuff.
I mean, that's fine. That doesn't stop Obi-Wan's Force techniques.
Well, like, what's he gonna do to Gandalf once he's a spirit?
Still just use the same Force techniques to destroy his spirit.
Well, like, I would say, like, with the Flame Imperishable. So here's the thing about the Flame Imperishable. It's Eru himself. Eru Luvatar is capital G God in Lord of the Rings. And it's made that nothing in Lord of the Rings cosmology can destroy a spirit protected by the Flame Imperishable. This includes, like, Melkor, who is, like, that version of Satan. There's even some arguments of if Eru himself can even kill a soul protected by the Flame Imperishable.
Oh, is the Flame Imperishable something that would be involved, or is that to getting into, like, outside forces interacting with the fight?
It's every soul itself has the Flame Imperishable. Like,
okay.
An aspect of everything within Lord of the Rings.
And then, like, again, like, at what point does that become, like, oh, it just can't be destroyed because it said so, but I've given definitive proof of Obi-Wan being able to use Force techniques to overwhelm higher dimensional.
I would say, like, if you were to argue that, like, it was the one above all, you could say, like, yeah, sure, he can destroy Gandalf's soul. But what I'm saying is, like, I didn't think I'd have to argue Eru versus Obi-Wan AP scaling, but
yeah, but also the Eru thing is only speculation. It's not a definitive fact. It's just, oh, Eru might not be able to, but Eru also might be able to.
Even, like, if we just wanted to say, like, Melkor versus Morgoth, who is 100% absolutely confirmed not to be able to match the Flame Imperishable, their scaling should outpace even, like, higher dimensional Obi-Wan scaling. Like,
so, once again, I have to say, this ability talk is really interesting, but I do want to say how strong these guys are. I want to know their stats, basically.
I guess I can kind of sum up everything else I was trying to say. I think Flame Imperishable, I do believe it has, like, I don't know if, like, Outerversal is the right word, but I think, like, it has, like, a ton of different layers of dimensionality in it. Because the Flame Imperishable basically with scales the entire cosmology of Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I guess, like, were there any other abilities I wanted to bring up that are particularly good for Gandalf? I brought up the memory stuff, the being able to destroy the lightsaber, BFR's soul. I think I talked about most of the relevant abilities. Do we just kind of want to talk about, like, who's going to outmuscle each other at this point?
Who has the biggest guns?
Sure.
I kind of want to know who's out muscle and who's faster.
Speed is a big one.
I don't want to cut you off if you have other stuff to talk about. So.
No, I'm fine talking about stats.
Okay. So did we already get into this? Is now that I'm actually thinking about it, are we saying Obi-Wan has like higher dimensional AP?
Force stuff, not AP, but like force techniques, sure.
So
I think his overall force power, like, yeah, but not AP and stuff.
Where would we
So
put
he's-
Obi-Wan for?
So you're saying that he could beat the Martian Manhunter in a mind game?
No, because I'm pretty sure Martian Manhunter also has arguable higher dimensional mind resistances.
Can we actually talk about speed first? Because I think that'd be like a quicker topic.
Do you want to go into yours first? Because I'm very interested in what you bring up.
Okay, so I'll just talk about like Lord of the Rings speed. The generally accepted stuff for a lot of these characters is like Mach 30, because like Balrogs have a feat of like crossing across the continent in a certain amount of time that was Mach 30. That's the generally everyone more or less accepts that. Something I found interesting was a Sauron feat that I don't know if we
Keep talking, I'll be right back.
but Sauron has a feat that should net like Mach 1500 if I remember correctly. So this is a map of Middle Earth. This white spot is where the Fellowship of the Ring is, and this blue spot is where Saruman is. And I did like the math, and what Saruman's able to do is he's able to like cast spells, and they travel to where the Fellowship is to like fuck with them. And these happen in like seconds. Like we see like it's like the movie thing where we're at the Fellowship, and then we like super speed over where Sauron is, and we see him at like the top of the tower being like, Yasha as like he's doing all this stuff. In order to do that, like in order to get this far across all this mountain ranges, that would be like Mach 1500, which I believe I wrote it down is approximately 0.02% the speed of light, which I'm gonna guess we have some relativistic stuff if I know anything about.
Damn, that's faster than Homelander.
I came back and all I heard was faster than Homelander. What has he brought up?
So to make a long story short, this blue spot is Saruman, this white spot is the Fellowship of the Ring. He casts magic which instantly affects them. That should be Mach 1500 roughly. I just thought this was a fun feat because I don't see anyone really talking about it. This is when they're trying to cross the Misty Mountains and Saruman's casting magic.
Allow me to undermine your feat here for a moment. Saruman isn't actually casting any magic. He's just telling the mountain to attack them. So,
but that's like what
his voice
magic
still
is
travels.
in Lord of the Rings.
Well, no, Caradhras is actually the mountain is a living being, and it doesn't like people climbing on it.
So what you're saying is this Saruman was like, "Hey, mountain, deal with these people."
Essentially, yeah.
Wow, slower than Homelander. I can't believe it.
Like a movie exclusive feat. It would be like in the movie he's just making weather happen. So like,
Yeah, in the movie they do that, yeah.
But that's not. I just wanted to bring it up because I thought it was interesting. I haven't really seen anyone talk about it. We also have. Oh, I am buffering. All right, I think we're back. Is anyone else buffering, or is everyone else good?
I'm good.
I'm okay.
It's fine for me.
I think we also have. I'm just gonna bring up another Maiar we have. This is the Maiar who's in charge of like moving the sun around. We have a Maiar that can move, is in charge of moving the sun, and another Maiar that's in charge of moving the moon. Just the speed of moving these objects would be about 3% the speed of light. And also, and this is highly interpretation based, but in the Hobbit fight, and I have the script for the Hobbit movie pulled up, when Gandalf meets the Necromancer, who is Sauron, they do just fight like with light. And they are like, it's a kind of, we can see in the movie, like, Gandalf forces his light out, and it's like a light attack going at there, and Sauron, like, actively, like, catches it and blocks it. So it's like, this is a lot more interpretation beast than, like, the lower percentage speed of light, but I do think, like, you can interpret some of their magic speed as, like, relativistic based on being able to react to each other's light speed attacks. And also, there's the ship that's like 1 billion times the speed of light. But, you know, it's a brilliant thing.
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah, is that all you got for speed?
I do have some potential. So
I have one question, actually, if you don't mind me interrupting.
what's up?
About the sun speed feat, would Gandalf scale to that in his, like, the form that we see him in? Because it feels weird to equate his, like, not human, but human-like body to feats of, like, Maya, you know?
Well, the thing is, like, Gandalf the White can, like, recreate his body to do what he wants, basically. He could just recreate his body that can react similarly to how he himself reacts. If not, he can just fight as a spirit this fast. I think
Gandalf's sitting there like, fuck, he's fast. I need to go light speed.
I need to go faster.
I need more speed.
There are some higher end arguments for Lord of the Rings speed. Everyone talks about, like, this is the most, like, infamous speed thing. There is a magical ship in Lord of the Rings that travels to stars. It gets to about like 50 billion times the speed of light at a low end. Scaling to this is a bit hinky and hard to do. There's Acnologian the Black is a dragon that kind of fought someone while they were driving this ship, but also the ship did just kind of kill them by ramming into it, so you could argue that maybe it doesn't scale to it. There's argument that, like, just the fact that they have magic that can create something that can move this fast, that, like, higher end Maiar could maybe scale to this speed because, like, they can just create things that can move this fast. And just in terms of, like, where Gandalf scales in the Maiar, he's basically, like, the second strongest Maiar ever right after Sauron, because Sauron is, like, de facto stronger than any other Maiar, and Gandalf has, like, statements of, like, only I can contend with Sauron. Only I can pose a threat to him at this point in time. So, like, you could maybe, if you squint, give him some, like, MFTL stuff. There's also, like, the potential highest argument I can get, which I'll kind of throw up just for the sake of being thorough. If this is contested, I understand. There's arguments for when he's in spirit form, he essentially has infinite speed. There's, like, a statement where, like, Maiar and Valar that can, like, basically be anywhere in Ea immediately. Basically, like, some omnipresent kind of timing. And I'm going to bring up a scan I brought up earlier about their whole perception of time. It does say that they can kind of just travel through time with how they do it. Like, they can move backwards or forwards in thought. So, like, there's some interesting arguments for exclusively when they are in a spirit form having higher metas of speed. I think this stuff's interesting. I'm not necessarily going to, like, hardcore defend it super hard.
Yeah, question.
I think there's some discussion to be had.
Question. Speed or teleportation on that first feat?
I'll bring it up again because I'm gonna read it
because I feel like trying to attribute it to speed feels very weird. Like, I get what it's saying, like, they can go where they willed, but it also feels like it's just talking about, like, I don't know if it's quantifiable as a speed feat of just, they can be present at once. It's weird.
It is very vague.
I just don't think, like, this is quantifiable.
When we see, like, spirits move, it does seem to be, like, actual movement. Like, when in The Hobbit, when we see Galadriel reduce the necromancer to his spirit form, he does, like, zoom off into the horizon at, like, super-de-duper speed. So, like, there is some indication that when they move, they are just, like, moving, and due to their, like, nature as, like, spirits before creation, they kind of just, like, break the rules of how movement is normally supposed to work.
Yeah, but this is also saying, like, they can go, like, it feels like it's more of a feat of, like, they can just be anywhere they want because they're spirits. They can go wherever just because they're Maya and stuff. Trying to account this to speed feels very off.
I mean, their mind would be able to move that fast, right?
Yeah, because it's
like... but also it's like you can think something, but being able to move your body quick enough is an entirely different thing.
Well, at this point, then, we're at the point where, like, if Gandalf is existing as a spirit and his, like, thoughts are fast enough to go back and forward in time, like, there's no reason why he can't just do magic at that speed, would be the argument. I'm not trying to be, like, super hard on, like, this is objectively what it is, and you're wrong if you're...
Yeah, I think I pretty much heavily disagree with that. But let's talk about Obi-Wan's speed, shall we?
What's Obi-Wan got?
Yeah, what's Obi-Wan got?
So basic stuff is that blaster bolts are stated a couple of times to be light speed. Obi-Wan can obviously deflect, reflect. There's multiple times when he's been able to do that in, I think the statement was nanoseconds. There are multiple times in which Obi-Wan has been stated of reacting within nanoseconds. He should be comparable to Vader because fought a Prime Anakin who is arguably more powerful than Vader because Vader's suit is like shit. And in the Kenobi show, we see Obi-Wan actually win his fight against Vader, his first one, the one he didn't throw. And Vader was able to react to and stop a ship while he was flying through hyperspace. There's a couple of arguments you can make for this, where it's either 81.2 the speed of light or infinite speed, because the ships are like they travel infinite distances at infinite speeds.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. As for other speed stuff that I wanted to bring up, like I said, there's just a lot that I can talk about, so I'm just trying to get it all, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Where's the one that I wanted to... Oh, yeah, he was also stated to deflect 3 blaster bolts in a nanosecond, which is very impressive. I kind of want to talk about it a little bit before I get into the higher arguments, but I got to grab them. There is Vitiite? Someone like that was capable... Vitiite was capable of being superior to the World Razor, who could travel across galaxies to destroy 100 stars in a day, which gets to 182,500 times the speed of light. Crazy. Dooku has been stated to have light speed stuff. Mace Windu was capable of perceiving the world as frozen as he surveys his environment, which is more like Force stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Young Luke Skywalker, so this is when he was just the farm boy learning, was able to contend with Guri and was able to use Force speed to completely blitz and perceive her in slow motion, the same droid which could process information and react within 6.1 picoseconds, which at a low end gets to 28.4 times the speed of light to 548 times the speed of light. And Anakin was capable of reacting to hyperspace itself and able to open a door in a picosecond, and like the infinite distancing would get that to a measurable. Obi-Wan has so much to talk about with that speed. I hope that all made sense.
Yeah, I think Obi-Wan's pretty fast.
Yeah. So, like, FTL at like the lowest end, MFTL at the mid end, infinite to immeasurable at the highest ends, with multiple arguments for it. Boom. Mic drop.
I hate to just concede a point, but I think like if we use the finite ends, if we're super nice to Gandalf, he's like relativistic, which Obi-Wan would pretty easily outscale. If we
even with his lowest.
Like, the 50 billion times light speed for Gandalf, then we could just bring up like higher dimensional stuff for Obi-Wan with similar leniency, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
I think speed is where Obi-Wan is completely taking this. And you also have to remember precognition is just another layer onto that.
I would like to think after thinking about it for a little bit. I think like,
I love seeing. I don't mean to interrupt. I just love seeing Vam sitting back with his pipe, like periodically looking like he's smoking it. It's like it's like the coolest shit I've ever seen on a cast. I love it.
I think that in regards to like how Gandalf perceives time, you could argue like in his physical body he could prevent him from doing that, but Gandalf can like borderline like travel, like he could send his mind to the past and present. So I think in the spirit form he'd be much more able to pierce any kind of perception blockers Obi-Wan be thrown out.
Maybe, but then I have the issue of like you may be fast enough to think it, you're not fast enough to actually do the swinging thing, you know?
Maybe.
Humans know that a car's coming towards them. They can't fucking jump out of the way just because they know they're about to get hit, you know?
Yeah, I would think like Gandalf has like some interesting arguments for like once he's in a spirit form, it's much easier for him to just kind of perceive the world differently and react to Obi-Wan, much more equipped to react to Obi-Wan at that point. Um,
Do we want to talk about
yeah,
AP?
yeah, we could go into AP. What's Obi-Wan at for AP? I'm very curious.
So a lot of this again is Force stuff. So I already mentioned the highest end of the fifth dimensional stuff, but I'll bring up some other stuff. Darth Malak, who is I forget. Let me try and find. There's a scaling chain that I forgot to mention here. But Darth Malak was able to absorb the Force energies that were refueling the Starforge, which gets to 42.1 exatons of TNT. Yarrow Pruff was able to hold back the destruction of Coruscant, which gets to 82.42 zetatons of TNT. Anakin, who again Obi-Wan would scale to because Prime Anakin and all that, threw an escape pod containing Dirge into a star hard enough to cause an explosion from orbit, which gets to 31.8 to 77 exatons of TNT.
Did that actually kill Dirge, or did he come back from that too?
Dirge came back from that. He's the motherfucker. I think it destroyed his body, but he was able to like regenerate from it because that's Dirge's entire thing. For higher ends to talk about, like the Force itself is being able to draw from the universe itself. Beings who are like living Force, which is what a Force ghost is, are stated to be in like unity with the Force itself, and the Force is everywhere, even piercing even higher dimensions than I talked about with the Nexus feat. So you can even make the argument that when Obi-Wan is also a ghost, because being a Force ghost is like it took a while for fucking Liam Neeson over here to do his, and it's not acquired by like normal people. But you are literally described as like beyond imagination itself.
Sorry.
Yes.
When Obi-Wan becomes a Force ghost, do we know he actually receives that buff? Because in the most primary example of him becoming a Force ghost, he still fights at a level similar and relative to how he was fighting when he was alive.
Yeah, but I think you could also make the same claim for like, why isn't Gandalf able to do all this? Like, why isn't he sending his mind back and forth? I feel like you get into similar kind of discrepancies with both.
Well, I think that's less of like, why doesn't he use this one-off ability? That'd be very useful, and more of like in the example we see Obi-Wan use the ability, he does not receive any kind of massive universal amp.
Sure, but but also two different mediums at the end of the day. One of these is the Star Killer Force Unleashed, like continuity and stuff. The other is the Legends interpretation.
So you're saying while the Force Unleashed is good for a visual, that wouldn't actually be fully representative of how the ability would pan out?
I feel like it's a good way of like how Obi-Wan would fight and stuff, but I feel like he would have those capabilities, you know? He doesn't have the destructive capabilities to be like, all right, Anakin, watch me slice this universe in two, but he should have the AP to be able to contend with that.
So, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little lost in the sauce and the specific of a couple.
That's fine.
I wonder if you could like kind of describe, in general, like in terms of like star, solar system, galaxy.
Yeah, no, I can do that for you.
Looking
at the lowest end, we're looking at star.
Okay.
At the mid end, we're looking to universal. At the highest end, we're looking to higher dimensional. I think arguably, I'd have to double check cosmology stuff, but I think Star Wars has infinite cosmology arguments, which like who doesn't nowadays with these stupid fucking verses.
Now I remember the Luke versus Saber blog, and I remember
this is not just that blog. This is other stuff.
I will say they put him at like Luke at like 8D, which is still better than Gandalf. I'm not gonna say like it's not, but like
there's been new arguments that have come across with the Force in Legends. One that specifically I was like told to look at, and I was like, that's bullshit.
I'm just gonna put cards on the table.
Mm.
I don't really have a good argument against universal AP if that's what we're gonna genuinely go with for Obi-Wan, but I can still talk about what I got for AP.
Yeah, go for it. I'm interested myself.
So in terms of there's like the usual stuff like Ose raises Numenor 600 megatons. We have some better stuff. And Caligan the Black, a giant dragon. I have a little visual for how big Caligan the Black is. On the right, on the left, we see Smaug, and then on the right, we see Caligan the Black, and that is a mountain his hand is on. This is the most powerful dragon Melkor created. He is not as strong as the strongest Maiar, so Gandalf and Sauron would scale above.
That's a big dragon.
And Caligan the Black, when he was defeated, fell to Earth so hard that he destroyed mountains, and the continent they were on shifted. This has been placed to around like a gigaton at a low end to teratons at the higher end. There are some nameless fodder spirits in the Silmarillion that Balrogs and Gandalf would scale above that just like are supposed to destroy the moon. Gandalf would scale above this. We have I would say like we have Tilion and Aryan can just like move the sun and the moon, which is a whole thing. But I think like the best thing is like Balrog and Ungoliant scaling, and I have a fun little visual to display where I'm going with this.
Oh no! Here comes back the Undertale music. Oh.
All right, so this is a very visual, so we don't lose track of the scaling changes. Right.
What is that?
Right. So we have So let's talk about who is it? Yavanna has created the two trees. The two trees are like the most impressive thing Yavanna could have possibly ever created. For context, Yavanna has created all the stars in the universe. Ungoliant ate this tree, and this tree was the most impressive thing Yavanna could ever. Ungoliant's a giant spider in the picture. This tree was like the most impressive thing Yavanna could ever create. It had more energy and more light than anything else. Ungoliant consumed all of this light. Consumed all of it. Once this tree was dead, Yavanna no longer had the energy to create this a second time. Worst case scenario, Ungoliant has a feat that would be like 50% of Yavanna's power. The Balrogs were able to drive Ungoliant away. What's relevant about this is that there are not that many Balrogs in the world. Tolkien has like statements of like, I thought 2% galaxy level was going to be better than anything, so I kind of lowballed this feat. Tolkien has like statements of there's probably only 3 to 7 Balrogs. I use 20, which is one of the bigger estimations for how many Balrogs there are. And Gandalf, as the Grey, was able to defeat one of these Balrogs. So Gandalf the Grey, I think 2% galaxy level is an interesting argument to talk about.
I may have forgotten to argue Star isn't the lowest. Sorry, I forgot. There's so much to cover with these guys, it's like it gets lost in the sauce.
Okay.
So unless there's anything, because I wanted to kind of clarify.
This was like my big trump card of like Gandalf is like galaxy level at the best, but it feels like the wind has been taken out of my sails because that's not as big as the stuff we've talked about for Obi-Wan. I thought this was gonna be like a big like no way get out of town, but now it's just like yeah, who cares, galaxy level.
Yeah, because I kind of wanted to talk about the solar system.
Let's talk about the solar system.
This is so bringing Vitite back in. I can't pronounce that. And about the World Razor is the World Razor was capable of mustering a amount of energy to keep imprisoned on Belsivus. Again, these names, Star Wars and the glitch shit those. Which gets to, I believe, 164.77 teraflow of TNT, which is a hell of a lot more than where you can even arguably put Gandalf at like a generous end of 11 Balrogs.
I mean, I think the most generous end would be...
I might be wrong on solar system, but like my brain's fried.
To be fair, if we're being like more nice to Gandalf, I would say like he more reasonably scales to a third of Ungoliant because there might only be 3 Balrogs. At which point that would be like a 1/6 of galaxy level.
There's other galaxy stuff that I could bring up as well. Padawans caused a planet to be converted into a blue star and sustained its existence for years, which over time, the amount of energy needed to keep up would get to that level, you know?
I was not prepared for Star Wars to be this strong.
Was Tech, which is a genuinely one-off Jedi, was stated to be able to destroy a solar system.
I must preference. This is Legends is this strong.
Yeah! No, Legends is this strong.
It's specifically Legends.
Kakashi.
Setup.
I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm giving up. I'm just genuinely not sure how to argue against this kind of power. This is just like, well, damn.
That's fine.
There it
also, about the again.
You don't have a surprise outer Gandalf skill?
I thought Galaxy was a great surprise. I didn't realize that was.
It is a good surprise. I didn't actually expect that from Gandalf. It just pales into the power of the Force. I also wanted to talk about like with the Force stuff and like I wanted to talk a little bit about like Force techniques are able to completely disintegrate in people, which is another argument of just bye-bye body. And like Obi-Wan's really precise with his Force techniques to where he was fighting Grievous and manipulated Grievous's fingers to drop his lightsaber because he's a troll like that.
Obi-Wan really likes fucking with Grievous.
Specifically Grievous.
Just Grievous.
To be fair, if I was like in a fucking galaxy of like Force wielding Sith, and this big fucking robot comes up and challenges me with no Force powers, I'm gonna flick his ass away as much as I can.
I am running out of arguments. Should I just like give the rest of what I could possibly say before we kind of get?
Yeah, because I'm running out as well.
Alright, so I was gonna argue that Gandalf with superior AP can also summon a bunch of eagles who are also relative to his AP, so we could have like 20 galaxy level eagles jumping Obi-Wan. For context, the eagles are about half the size of a soccer field, which I thought was pretty cool. Just like a bunch of football field sized eagles jumping Obi-Wan seemed like a fun argument to me. Apparently Obi-Wan's stronger, so he probably just like forces them away. But if you just don't believe Saul, if you just like say like nah, Death Battle was right, he's planet level, it's a good argument.
What? Leave me alone.
I think Gandalf has the potential to potentially copy Force abilities.
What?
Because, like, he can potentially like a thing is like they can just in Magic the Gathering, Gandalf can just cast any spell in Magic.
What the fuck? Hang on now.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
When did we bring magic up? I didn't know we were allowed to use that extended continuities. Hang on, I'm doing some research.
But yeah, I think this just kind of makes sense because they kind of just speak things into the universe, and that works similar to the Force. So I think if Gandalf was in a neutral universe where the Force exists and he sees Obi-Wan doing the Force, he's like, oh, that's what you're doing. I could try doing that too. He could probably do Force abilities. I think there's the potential for him to just be able to do that because he can like manipulate the universe itself. And out of character argument, I think maybe Gandalf could possess Obi-Wan. Again, not in character, but like Maiar can just like possess and corrupt and take over people. This is like the only Force Ghost Obi-Wan if dishing him to the afterlife doesn't work.
So, you know what? You know that Dark Force Nexus that I brought up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it specifically corrupts and possesses you. And Obi-Wan was injured resisting that.
Alright, fair enough. Alright, so that's kind of more or less what I got for Gandalf today.
I'm trying to picture the fight in my head, and I feel like it would be, like, on paper, this feels like a grounded battle, but when you look at it closer, it feels like...
I don't think you would portray them as, like, blowing up stars or anything.
No, you wouldn't. You keep it grounded.
Like, this would start as, like, a grounded melee combat. They bring in, like, a bunch of magic. I think, like, the most higher dimensional you would get is, like, Obi-Wan taps into the Force in a way that he can, like, understand what Gandalf is, and, like, maybe you could, like, have him see the Song of the Universe a little bit, which would be cool. But that wouldn't be, like, a universe blowing up. That would just be, like, some cool higher dimensional imagery before, like...
Yeah,
think,
but at the same time, it would...
The biggest you would get would be, like, them blowing up the mountain they're on, maybe.
So,
Yeah, at the same time, it is funny to imagine Gandalf and Obi-Wan just moving like DMC characters.
I'm just imagining like they're just throwing stars at each other for some fucking reason.
Like Dante versus Clive level combat.
all of a sudden they're in space just throwing shit at each other. This has nothing to do with either series. And nothing has been shown on screen.
Well, I think via this cast, you've somehow sold people on Palpanor a little bit more, which I didn't expect. But I guess
that's fine. That used to be one of my most wanted. Like, again, I wanted like the Ghost Gandalf is impressive, but I think arguably the false Ghost of Obi-Wan is equally as like they both clearly get buffs in terms of what they're able to do. You know.
I feel like I'm talking on my ass a little bit because I don't remember the pure reasoning. But I remember once upon a time looking at the whole cosmology of Lord of the Rings, and I think it was roughly 10th dimensional, which the Flame Imperishable would scale to. If Obi-Wan really is infinite dimensional, then I guess GG. But I will say, if you think it's more just universal to 5D, I do still think Gandalf's soul would be indestructible to that, at least. Just in terms of like pure destroying
the soul. Well, my question would be, I'm trying to remember how Tolkien would have viewed it, but would the soul be comparable to the mind? Because if that's the case,
that is like kind of the logic with it. He was looking at it from like
because if it is 10th dimensional, then the 5D just won't affect it.
I don't want to bring up like Bible scaling, but as like generally the idea of like
it's not really Bible scaling. It's not really Bible scaling because Tolkien is Christian. This is more of understanding his philosophy of what the soul is.
I'm trying to say like it's thematically similar to like how it works in regards to like the immortal soul.
Yeah, it's not like saying, we can scale it to Samson.
Yeah, no. We're not like doing
it's more of like trying to understand how Tolkien viewed the soul.
Yeah.
If that's the case and it is truly 10th dimensional, then.
But then I also argue the higher dimensional stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do we want to? I don't want to cut you off. Do we want to get into final arguments, or do we have something else to say?
I think I should be okay if I think it like. I think I've talked enough about with the like Force Ghost stuff, like it's so weird. This stuff is so weird.
All right.
So is it final argument time?
I think it's final argument. I'll throw the poll up. I'll give my final argument first. Obi-Wan kills Gandalf's body the first time. Gandalf retreats to outside of time and space, and then waits till Obi-Wan falls asleep, and then he just strikes him from lightning and kills him that way. But being slightly more serious, I think like there's good arguments for Gandalf just being genuinely unkillable. I think like if we were to remove stats from the equation, I think Gandalf has more answers to the Force Ghost than Obi-Wan would have to the Maiar Spirit. I think potentially he could just send whatever personality remains of Obi-Wan of the Force and send that section of his soul to the Hall of Mandos. And I think if that doesn't work, I think there's like thing like Gandalf has the same corruptive potential as Sauron. He just like doesn't want to because that's like he's here to prevent that from happening. I do think like there's some arguments that he could like corrupt Obi-Wan's soul over time, but that's not a very strong argument because Obi-Wan resists corruption. So I'm mostly arguing he'll just like bamf him to the afterlife. I think that's like the big thing when it's all said and done. Gandalf, you can't kill him. That's my argument. Can't kill him.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I think as fair as Shim has been throughout this, I feel like he's very much relying on the idea of just this almost like a no limits of like he can't be killed in any way. Obi-Wan is far stronger, even looking at like to the lowest ends, to like Gandalf's lowest end just matches Obi-Wan's like highest ends. Speed is a non-issue to where Obi-Wan is literally dancing around him. I've already stated how his mind manipulation will be able to work, which means Gandalf's physical body is just going to be constantly being able to shut down. He's way more of a tactical fighter, and with the precognition, he's going to know how this battle plays out before the battle has even started. Just a lot of force techniques will just be able to constantly destroy Gandalf over and over, and even if Obi-Wan eventually runs out of energy, which I think would happen, but it would take a very long time, especially with foes. He's fought against foes who are able to do that, like Grievous's entire thing, which is why Grievous was a threat. Being with the Force Ghost and stuff would mean that he's equal to Gandalf's spirit, but then again, the Mind Hacks just comes in and keeps destroying him. I think Obi has won this debate.
All right. To anyone watching, the poll is up right now. Y'all can vote for who you think is going to win. All right, we'll just go in order of top, left, bottom, right. Vamolator, who do you think is going to win a fight to the death?
Well, I mean, you both made excellent points. This is much more difficult than I thought it would be. But I do think that despite Gandalf being, so unkillable, he doesn't have the way to work around, like Saul said, the speed and the power. And so I think Obi-Wan is just going to keep killing him over and over again until he just gives up or runs out of juice. So I've given my vote to Obi-Wan.
Take it off. That's so sad. So you need to take off the hat.
Now you'll have to vote for Gandalf, so Vamolator won't be.
No, you don't.
In my heart, I vote for Gandalf.
All right, Kagura, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking so far, this seems like a debate that really could use a really in-depth blog, but we don't have that type of time. So, based on the information that is given to me, I think this fight is debatable. However, I think I'll have to give it to Gandalf. I just don't know if how Obi-Wan can get around how unkillable Gandalf is. I just don't think he could kill Gandalf before Gandalf figures out how to kill him, is what I'm trying to say.
All right. That's we're 1-1 right now. What
Yeah.
are you thinking?
A lot's going through my mind. Getting the full extent of Legends. This is my first time understanding Lord of the Rings. For how I understand the fight it is basically Obi-Wan constantly killing Gandalf's human form for however long he needs to until his juice runs out. And also, going to be completely fair, the only reason this is slightly debatable is because of Legends and how insane Legends is. I think I may have to actually, personal bias aside of which series I like, because it's obvious who I like more. I'm gonna have to say, unless I get a better explanation of like the actual dimensional tiering of Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna have to give it to Obi-Wan. I do feel like it is close. I feel like there's just some information we straight up don't know, which is the hard part. But I feel like right now I would have to say Obi-Wan would just more times than not get the win.
Okay.
All right. So how do you kill Gandalf for good? Well, you can't. And how he's more experienced, and the one argument when it comes to the mutation and transmutation, I feel like that's a weird comparison because they're two different things. Like I have a feeling that Obi-Wan would be affected by transmutation. So, given what I'm seeing, then I think Gandalf wins this. That, and I think you're bluffing about the Star Wars Legends stats.
You're voting for Gandalf?
Yes, I'm voting for Gandalf.
Then we're down to the chat.
We're down to the chat, and I gotta be honest, we have a very first we have a fan battle cast first in the poll today
What?
because it's the first time where it's not just one vote that's a complete blowout. Obi-Wan with 100% of all 10 votes. 100%
Wow! Oh my goodness! Wow!
So in one way, it was a close vote because it was 2-3, but in another way, maybe it wasn't so close after all.
Wow.
Wow.
That's funny.
That's pretty crazy.
Wow, yeah, no, that's an insane ending.
I can't even be mad though, Saul. You brought up the receipts that I was not ready. I tried not to give up basically ever, but I just genuinely didn't know how to argue with such high AP scaling. That was really good. I think this is one of a matchup where even if we look into anything and it's like a quote unquote stomp, I think it's one of those things where like there's a lot of discussion to be had, which I think the matchup is still very, very.
I feel like a majority of their stats are debatable.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. Is like a majority of like I know like Death Battle only buy the Mark 30 stuff, while they have like Star Wars at like the FTL ranges, which is probably why I imagine Obi-Wan would end up winning the episode.
Yeah.
My throat is so dry.
You have been talking.
I think I'd actually like to talk about a show me and Saul are working on as a last little segment.
Yeah, go on.
The Nebula Theater, friends of the show, friends of show Plymph, me, Saul Plymph, and a lot of other delightful community members have been working on a new versus animation show called The Nebula Theater. Kara versus Sonic.exe just came out. It was a very fun Halloween episode for us to do. And if you go to Plymph's channel, what all of us will do is we actually kind of have a similar thing as Battle at Banter, where we will talk about a lot of matchups we would potentially maybe want to do. We have a Halloween tournament right now going on where we have selected 32 matchups that are horror Halloween oriented. And whatever wins the tournament will end up becoming a fully animated versus show episode we do. Me and Saul talk a lot about what episodes we potentially want to do for the show. And we haven't really hard confirmed Gandalf or Obi-Wan for anything, but these are both characters we both really like. And potentially would like to maybe get something like this or maybe another matchup for these characters on the show at some point.
I would love. Just give me a reason to research Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I'd fucking love to do that.
Gandalf has a lot of fun options. I think this could potentially be a fun option for.
Yeah.
We could
Go.
do Gandalf versus Elminster. I think that's very fun.
Oh, yeah.
Which is another one. Which is another one that I love.
Oh, Element, that'd be so lit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Go.
subscribe to me because if I get 500 subs, I'll start paying Crow out whenever he actually streams. And subscribe to Plymph and watch us
subscribe.
talk about potential matchups we can do.
Subscribe to Nebula Feeder and go into the comments section and type, "Hey, I want Ghost Rider versus Devilman." Do it for
and
me.
we want to it.
No.
Subscribe to Sherm because I get paid, and subscribe to Nebula's Theater for Naruto versus Roman to eventually happen. I'm trying my best.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Gandalf versus Obi-Wan. I love it. This is personally one of my favorite pitch matchups. I like this matchup a whole lot. I love Gandalf, one of my all-time favorite characters. I think this is a great matchup for him. As you can tell with the debate, there's a lot of nuance into how their abilities react. And I would love for this is probably like top 10 of all pitch matchups for me. Because when this cast was announced to be a pitch matchup, a lot of people were like disappointed, like, oh, this is so not a matchup. And that made me a little sad because I love it so much. I think there's so many cool things you can do with it. But I don't rant too much about that. I hope y'all liked this matchup. I hope y'all liked this cast. And thank you all for watching. And unless anyone else has anything to say, we will catch you